He is one of the most extraordinary piano players I've ever heard in my life. When he plays, you hear these wonderful cascades of sound. His fingers move on the keys like little drops of water. It is just absolutely one of the most beautiful things, and you really have to be here to experience it. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce Lubomyr Melnyk. Thank you.
I think that members of the public who come to the concert, a good portion of them realize that they're hearing the piano for the first time in their life, that they've never imagined that the piano could sound like this and create these beautiful, beautiful landscapes. In continuous music, there isn't one player. There's actually an orchestra. There's more than 10 of these actually going. People think there's 10, but there's more. And so basically, I'm like 40 people. This is something that I wish the public would start to realize, that they would hear every finger touch as I play. Not just the whole sound, every finger touch. You know, all of that. You know. And then they would start to realize, oh wow, it's not just the voice of the piano. There's another part in continuous music. That is the hands of the pianist, the fingers. And they are connected, of course, to everything, to me, to the ground, to the floor, you know, to the ceiling, to the air, to the space, and to the time. From the moment I was born, I was being prepared to be the person who would bring continuous music to the world. I have come to understand something that I always knew, even from childhood, but it was never really clear until later on in life, that I'm here on earth basically as the prophet of the piano, not as a composer, not really as a pianist like Liszt or Chopin, but the prophet of the piano, the actual instrument. The piano is only about 300 years old, and it was made to do a certain kind of music with its certain principles. And then I came along, and with the help of a lot of other elements and factors, the real voice of the piano was discovered and heard. And this is my purpose in life, is to bring to you the true voice of this magnificent instrument. So basically, the music was discovered in the attic of the old Paris Opera, because that's where Carolyn Carlson's classes were. this huge wooden floor attic and this grand piano, enormous attic building, means the whole opera. And so the dancers would go, and I would be creating music for that and starting to feel, and it was a huge discovery for me, because that's where I started to try to transcend the dimensions, so that the sound and the music of the piano would intrinsically unite with the bodies of the dancers and help them to do their exercise. A ballet dancer devotes every minute of their day to developing their dance, becoming more supple, stronger, more, more control of everything around them, and starting to take control of the space that their body could reach and do. This was necessary for the discovery of continuous music. This complete 100% devotion of every breath you take of every day to getting better. Not playing the piano better, but actually growing, physically, spiritually, mentally, artistically. I actually had to scrounge at night, because in Paris, they threw away all the oranges and the fruits and bananas, everything at night that were kind of too bad to sell. So I could eat for free. All of that combined to set the soil where continuous music would be born, where the spark of life would come to it. It wasn't because, oh, I'm such a genius. I just heard this music and right away I saw it. No, come on. I'm just a beggar on the street. And somebody put a beautiful flower into my cup. Instead of money, they put a flower. And I looked at it and I realized, wow, this flower will not die. If I do this with it, it will grow. I can look at it every day, every minute, and it will grow and grow. So you don't say to the beggar, oh, how fantastic a man you are that you brought this amazing everlasting flower to the world and everybody's so overjoyed with it. No, he's still a beggar on the street who knew nothing. The events of my life made my eyes and my ears and my soul able to see the potential and to recognize, when I started to play the piano and experiment with these pattern things and everything, that something remarkable was happening and that this was so beautiful that I would devote my life to it. When they hear me play, they run away and say, oh, that's stupid. It's not Beethoven. I know I'm not Beethoven. I'll be the first to admit, okay? Believe me. But where is Beethoven? Why do you reject me because I'm not Beethoven? When? Look around you. Who is writing Beethoven's symphonies or his piano sonatas? Who is writing Bach's music? Please show me. You don't have Bach. You don't have Beethoven. You have me. They're in the position to send students, go listen to Lubomyr play. Go study with him. Learn something new about the piano. But they are incapable because they are in a prison. They have no idea. They are surrounded by walls called the piece, the concerto, the sonata. You learn the sonata, you learn to play the concerto, but you have no control over the piano. You have no control over your hands. You can just play the concerto. And if you do it fast and without a mistake, you're great. Well, sorry, you're not great. That's only part of being a pianist. I think Franz Liszt was great. Chopin was great. Great, great. Beethoven was great. Bach was great. Because they could do anything. These pieces that we have are just a fraction of what they could do. And so when they see a pianist come with something so deeply rooted in their tradition, but new, they reject it, and then they put on this superficial excuse, well, it's not as great as Beethoven. Okay, yeah, but that means that you're not going to listen to anything except Beethoven, which is kind of stupid. I mean, God put many flowers on the world, and you can't just say, I'm only going to look at roses, you know. They're all, you know, because they're the greatest. And there's fields of flowers all around you. There's, you know, nameless things. No, I'm not interested. Roses, roses. You know, of course, maybe the rose is the greatest flower. Yes. But what about the fields? Why are you so blind? Because God meant for you to look on the beauty of them too. God does not want us listen only to Ludwig because he's the greatest. But that's the mentality of the classical world now. And this has made the universities the death of knowledge. Universities were supposed to be the sort of magnet of knowledge and growth. In fact, what they've become is the opposite.
What would you say to a classical pianist, how they could apply the continuous technique to their music?
I'm not sure actually that you can. Continuous music is its own world. It's just like the Tai Chi master cannot do what the Kung Fu master does and cannot do what the Karate master does. They are all masters and they all do, we would say, miraculous things, but they cannot cross over and do what the other one can do. And this is why we need actually to respect one another. And neither one can say, hi, I'm the Tai Chi master, I can defeat you, I am supreme. Nor can the Kung Fu master say, ha ha, I am supreme. And so I cannot say to the classical master, to the great concert pianist, ha, I am supreme to you. No, I am not. I do something different from you. My hands have acquired the ability to do this. You cannot do what I can do, and I cannot do what you can do. So we really should respect one another, because we really do, I would say both the continuous pianist and the classical pianist do great things. Pianists have to stop being quite so egotistical. So like, I'm the best, and what I do is the best. I think we have to really respect one another and realize that all of us do great things. As a child learning the piano, my favorite pieces were rondos. Every time I got to do a rondo, I was so happy. They were so simple in the structure. They didn't have the complexity of a sonata or something.
Okay.
And they had this very regular 4-4-4-4-4 structure, 4-16, 8-16. Everything was so regular. And I started doing them as a finger exercise to develop the fourth and the fifth fingers, which are the weakest. All students have enormous problem with their fourth and fifth finger in both hands. And it's very strange. That is completely ignored in piano education today. There's no specific exercises for that problem. And so I tackled that problem by creating these rondos that used 4 and 5 over and over and over again. And you could play them for 3 hours without on because they're circular. So the rondo starts and you go through several pages and come back to the beginning. And you just keep going until your fingers fall off. Which is a very good point because people don't know, but I do not play with my fingers. They've fallen off long ago. So, getting back to the rondos, they're also done with a pedal. So the classical people will go crazy when they hear this rondo that I'm going to play for you. They're going to probably throw their shoes at the screen. They'll go literally. They'll explode out of fury and anger. How can you play a rondo with pedal? Now, I must say that there is one point where I flash off the pedal for 2 notes, just because they just sparkle out. You'll hear it somewhere in there, like da 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 da. Yeah. So that's the only place I take it away.
Yeah.
But so the people don't get say, why did he take the pedal off? I took the pedal off because it just adds a sparkle on those 2 notes. That's why.
And then we can pick it out too.
Yeah, you'll be able to hear it, but that little part doesn't come until a bit later on. So I shouldn't have said that because now everyone's going to be waiting for that part and they're not going to listen to the rondo. So please forget I said that, forget what you heard. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, this rondo this one particular one was created to do an extremely fast so that's repeat. So it's the idea would be that your fourth finger has to be so accurate and so powerful they can just go pam pam. Even it's softly or hard, it doesn't matter. So it's actually like a finger exercise, okay? But it's kind of couched in rondo format. But I also did this one because I found it especially a little bit Mozartian, and I really adore Mozart's music. And classical people, probably more than you do. Probably more. And so this is kind of a bit of an homage to Wolfgang. etc. Uh, it's difficult for me to do the whole piece without making a mistake. I've seen very advanced pianists. I'm not talking about the great ones on stage, but very, very advanced, playing very difficult piano concertos. And their finger technique is appalling, really appalling. I wonder what's going on. How can you go to a conservatory and your teacher allows you to have fingers working like that? Now, the fingers are sort of the mirror into your soul, but into your piano playing soul. So whatever defect is in your fingers is like a block in your playing or in your connection to the piano. So that their whole mentality is to play the correct sequence of notes, and then everything is okay. But basically, I think they would not even disagree with my rather negative appraisal of their playing, because they feel that that's what matters. And it's not what matters. What matters is that you are in control of your hands. And most of them are not, because the focus has been taken away from the piano into the piece. The classical world basically works from the knuckles down, although there's activity, yeah. I mean, all of this is being used, and all of this is being used, but basically, because of the nature of the pieces, you have to jump and hop around the keyboard. You got to do a complex sequence of notes. And this demands that your fingers are very, very, from here, are very independent. Right? The control goes deeper inside because you don't have to jump around. The control starts to sink deeper and deeper into you, and the new dimensions of your finger work start to grow. And so the continuous pianist plays from the wrist rather than from the knuckles.
Would you be able to show us the difference between someone who has more of a stiff wrist like mine and how yours has evolved?
I can try, but I think it would be better if you, since you're not a continuous pianist, you have sort of a normal hand.
Yeah, I haven't played in
We
10
can
years.
try, but before we do that, I would like to mention that at the very start, the very birth of continuous music, I could feel that the flesh within my body was being altered, not altered, but opened. It was coming alive from the energy of playing continuous music. And I realized very shortly thereafter that there's a natural block in all human beings at the wrist, that the energy does not go through. In all piano students, the hand, for some reason, resorts to a stiff, stretched out position. As soon as you're trying to do something with your hand, the hand just goes like that. It's like, you know, and then you play this finger and that one, and the other ones are sticking up. But in playing continuous music, the only finger that is doing anything is the one that's touching the keys. You'll see, let's see, we can experiment and bring you to play something.
Sure.
And I think you'll notice, well, I shouldn't tell you because I don't want to be accused of suggesting for you to do things. Just play naturally.
Okay.
Just for a minute or something. Here you go. Enjoy the piano. So that was a perfect example of a completely blocked wrist. Okay, so your hand was like this. Okay, I'll show you. Your hand was just sort of like this, and you were moving it around, even though you're playing. The continuous is like you're doing. Your hand is larger. I cannot hold the octave the way you did. So I have. Remember, I have a small hand. So, but the continuous pianist does not do that. That's more in the classical tradition. Okay, so and you don't. You left your fingers like that so that your hand is like that.
Yes.
That requires. You don't realize, but you're using 90% of your energy in the muscles here, forcing them to stay like that, forcing them against their will. You are a mean Grinch. You're making them stand like that. It's the continuous pianist is working constantly to become very fluid, soft, and very supple, so that there's no excessive energy loss at all. Remember, like I have to play a concert, and some pieces are 45 minutes. There's even some that are longer than that, and you're going all the time. It's if you play with that type of a thing, you'll be finished within 10 minutes. Okay, you have to let the wrist move. So the movement of the wrist is needed, and it's in itself. It is not the secret. So suddenly you're moving your wrist and then you can do that. No, but the movement of the wrist means that the fingers can relax in between. There's not that tension, okay? If you can imagine that your job is to lift a bicycle, you know, and you take your two hands and you lift it up, and because this is what your finger is doing, it's doing that, and so, and then instead of putting it down, you're holding it until the next time you're going to do something. So then you put it down, then you lift it up again. And you multiply that by 1,000 times. You have wasted more than 90% of your energy. So this is, but this relaxation of the fingers can come only after and together with the flow in the wrist. But this flow in the wrist cannot happen externally. You can't just say, okay, move your wrist and everything's solved. That's not enough. The wrist is very sensitive to the energy of your body. And so this continuous piano energy will open and soften your wrist and make it pliable, so that you're not artificially moving the wrist. It does it from an internal naturalness. And that's, together with that, the fingers will start to relax, and they won't be tensed out. Some of my students, when they come to me, like their fingers are sticking up in the air all the time. Like the fifth finger, they don't use the fifth finger for maybe a minute, but it's sticking up in the air like that. And what, am I doing that? It's sort of like, you know, an analogy would be I'm walking down the street, you know, and I'm walking like this, you know, and they say, sir, why are you holding your arm? Am I holding my arm? I didn't know.
Yeah. It's all this tension that's just there, and we're forcing it out.
Sneaky.
Yeah.
You don't realize it, but it soaks the energy out of you. It's also a flag that's telling you that this ship is out of control. I have a feeling that 100 years ago, no piano teacher would allow their students to play like this, you know. The piano teachers up today, oh, you hit the right notes. Very good, very good.
How do you start to become more supple and relaxed?
That's an interesting question, because uh, your, the way you phrased the question actually is the destruction of the answer.
Understood.
Okay? Because your question suggests that if you do a certain group of exercises, your wrist will become supple, and then you're there.
Got it.
Okay? And this is completely impossible. The suppleness of the wrist and the movements must come from internally, from inside your arm, inside your being.
Okay.
Okay? And that comes from the living energy and the slow process of awakening the flesh inside your body. And so I'm sorry to, I don't want to, insult your question, but I just feel this happens so often that people will ask about something because they have a misconception of, for example, going to Dalai Lama and asking him, how do I attain nirvana, and
Here's a step-by-step process.
yes, here's the 10 steps. You come back in a year, you're probably there.
Yeah.
Thanks. So life isn't like that. It's a process. It's a growth of the individual. So like as you grow in your capacity with the piano, and you grow in able to color the sounds, and you're able to grow to hear the voice of the piano. All this growth and everything is a very long process that cannot be, it's not a goal that you can work at. It's a result of the growth of the person, as your growth as a pianist. I do not consider that Beethoven's piano concerto is the true voice of the piano. It's a magnificent masterpiece of music, absolutely. But it has nothing to do really with the voice of the piano. The piano is simply used as an instrument to recreate this classical perfection. Continuous music lets the piano sing.
All right, the big question. What is continuous music?
It is a big question. And it can be answered very simply, but that will just give you a very superfluous idea of what it is. But simply speaking, it's a completely new world of the piano. It's completely different from classical piano or jazz piano or rock or pop tune piano. It's actually turning the piano into a complete orchestra, complete with everything, even brass and percussions and everything. The piano will do everything. But there's another half that is invisible and that people don't really notice what's going on. And that is the actual physical technique of playing continuous music. The fact that that my hands will do what they do, that my hands will create this music, this voice of the piano, the fact that they can, the space and the energy of my hands enter the piano. They join with the piano in another dimension. both in this space, both in this world we live in, but in another dimension as well, beyond time, beyond everything. And the two unite, my hands and the piano, and we sing together. The pedal is what releases the voice of the piano. And that's what enables the grandeur of the sound to flow and just pour out of the piano. I can give you an example of playing something without pedal and then playing it with pedal.
Okay.
And if one listens, one hears the tremendous difference, not so much in the cloudiness, but what rises out of the cloudiness. This is one of the problems with the classical people, is that they don't really hear the piano. They're so used to hearing a piece of music with its clarity, so they shut their ears off when they hear continuous music. But now I'll get back to this example that I was going to.
Sure.
And I'll take something simple.
Okay.
You know. Another thing that's very important with the pedal is when you start doing the called the arpeggiated format. Mm-hmm. That's impossible to play without the pedal. Okay. Now I can play. What happens?
Yeah,
yes,
I want to hear it.
the thing is that my fingers will attempt to play the piece. But there are small things you may notice, you might not, that I can't do because the pedal is not there. Because the pedal affects the entire mechanism of the piano. So when you put the pedal down, pianists don't think that the keys go differently, but they work differently. Not because the pedal has affected this, but because the pedal makes the strings live and vibrate. And so when the hammers hit them, they're different. I should point out that, of course, there are times to create another landscape, I will remove the pedal. For example, in windmills, there's the part where the windmill is almost at the point of crashing, you know, and there the pedal comes off, in and off, and in and off, you know. So, and the effect is remarkable. It's just, it's part of the drama, and it paints, for me anyway, a very clear picture of this catastrophe, you know, and this horrendous chaotic rumble that happens. So like, that's without pedal, yeah. For me, the entire piano is an orchestra, is the orchestra. You have the bass, you have the middle, you have this, you can hear horns, trumpets, you can hear strings, you can even hear percussion, you know, this thing, especially if you take the pedal away and all this sort of stuff. The key element here is the pedal, that it lets you hear the orchestra because it comes out, and you won't hear it without the pedal. I can play here. At the pedal. The orchestra begins to sound. Then I introduced this other phase, or this other aspect of continuous music, where I hate to use the word arpeggiation because it's not. It's actually spreading the chord over the piano. It's not the classical arpeggio. And this is something that really annoys me with classical pianists, because they know from scale work the word arpeggio, and they think I'm doing arpeggios, and I'm not. They can't hear because there's so many notes, and the notes are going quite fast. So I've yet to see a classical pianist who can actually hear what I'm doing, but it's not an arpeggio. But it's spreading the chord over the keys. So you'll get like. So suddenly you have this drama you can bring into the piano. You have these vistas that were impossible when you're doing. They're interesting, they're beautiful, but you miss the vistas, the huge landscape that the broken chords sweeping over the piano create. We haven't come to the point, that strange thing, bel canto, with the introduction of the melody note, which changed everything for me. And it could not have happened until I had worked for years and my hands had become supple enough to be able to do this, because the action basically is almost beyond time. You know, you don't think of it as time, but you are melting two dimensions, the melody note and all the harmonization that's happening. And this, see, you can conceive it almost like two dimensions. And then when the two touch, it's outside of time. And the hand has to move so quickly. And the touch has to be so delicate. Perhaps it's good if I show it, because I think many people have never heard bel canto piano, you know. So I'll take a section from Windmills, a short section, and you can see sort of like how. And this is what I want to teach people to do. It sounds easy. Probably even looks easy. But it took me 50 years to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And if you ask the greatest concert pianists in the world, and I'm not trying to belittle them this is not a negative comment about them. What it is an explanation of the difference of the technique. They can come with their classical Chopin hands and they won't be able to do this, even though they're superb pianists. But they can't do this because the technique is coming from here, and the hands have become softened. These are basically almost like Tai Chi hands. They're martial arts hands. And that means that they're operating in a different time zone to normal life. So what I did, I perceive everything that I did in slow motion. For me, I can separate all these things into microseconds, the way Zen does. And the classical pianists are not trained to do that. I believe they will be able to do it, but they're not trained to do it. It's just like many people can become martial arts masters unless someone opens those doors for them and shows them. They will never do it. I am the prophet of this instrument because no one has released this voice before. And it's my obligation to give this gift of the sound of the piano and the ability to bring this sound out, to give it to other people.
Could you give us an example of the stationary technique and then all the way up to the bel canto technique?
Okay, we start with what I would call pattern static position. I'm sorry I began without giving it, but that's the technical name in continuous music, you know. that's the thing. And then the other one, the central, the middle part is where one hand moves and the other one. And then the other one is with full. All right? So that's what I'm going to play. And you can hear how smoothly they move from one to another. And by not putting a space in between them, you can hear that they're actually one. Like, it's like standing still is one with running. So as you hear this static position, and then when the left hand starts to move, you realize that it's just the same thing. They're different, but they're the same. And then the hands are doing the arpeggiation. It's the same thing. Both, or all three, there's three there, both have no motion at all. You are completely in one central space. And they're simply expressions of the same thing. You may include this or you may not, but you should know, I should tell you, that several times in my life recently, I was put into the mirror world. Now, the mirror world is impossible. It's impossible because everything is in mirror to reality. So, when you walk out your door, and the bakery is 3 doors to the right, and tomorrow morning you walk out the door, and the bakery is 3 doors to the left, it's impossible. But this happened. For real. And there's nothing wrong with my brain. You know, really. You know, like, believe me, I would be the first person to tell you that there's something wrong with me, because I would not like it. I don't want anything to be wrong. So if I feel something's wrong, I start meowing like a cat. Oh no, something's wrong, right? But I was for 7 minutes in the mirror world. I was in the first wagon of a train heading in one direction. When I stepped out of the train, I was in the last wagon. Instead of the train being there, it was over there. And I'm walking in the direction of the station where the exit is. And the exit is no longer there. It's on the wrong end. People who steadfastly, absolutely reject any concept of mystery in existence will say, Lubomyr went crazy for a few minutes and he was just confused, you know. I wasn't confused. I wasn't confused at all. I was stunned. I was stunned because I knew that everything was backwards. And I was there. There was sound, there were people, everything was there. But it was backwards. Now, what is really shocking about this is not that it happened. The shocking thing is, where was I in those 7 minutes? Was I in this world, the backwards one, where I was, or where was I in the real world? And I'm not in both places. Like, scientists will try to invent this explanation that, oh, there's these two alternate universes, that there's the mirror one and the real, and the one that we're in, and they're both. No. You can't cross. Because if you cross, then you're not there anymore. There is no answer, but obviously I suspect that I was only in one place, in the backwards world. I don't know if there will ever be a continuous pianist who has gone so far as I have gone. I hope so. And I hope maybe they even go beyond me. I would be very, very happy with that. But I don't know if there is a beyond. There's really nowhere to go. You don't need to go anywhere because you already have everything. It's like saying, oh, I've gone to heaven. Okay, thanks God. What's next? Well, sorry, but that's it. Oh, I thought there'd be another step after heaven. No.
It's just a place you arrive to.
Yeah, it's a place you never want to leave. So I never want to leave this place.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
You know, it's
Let's just say somebody did reach that higher level. Do you think that they would almost just express themselves in their own individual way with continuous music? Like, they're not going to be able to write another KMH or something, but they'll be able to make something from their own
this is
spirit.
very interesting to consider. What will the next master write and create? We'll just have to see. We have no more masters now like Beethoven and Mozart. There just aren't any, and there haven't been for a long time. That does not mean that what we create is not worth hearing or worth creating. I'm creating the best I can do. It's not as good as Beethoven. I can never write a Beethoven symphony. But I think, I can't do a symphony, but I have I don't think Mr. Ludwig van Beethoven would be in disagreement if I said that my piano music is more wonderful than his sonatas. More wonderful. That does not mean that my pieces are perfect.
Yeah.
His pieces are perfect, but they're just piano music. I think people need to see what the piano will do. You know, it's not just playing tunes. Now it's actually reaching into the very depths of your soul and making you see something that your eyes cannot see. But in your soul you can feel, and in a way you are seeing things happening with this pulsating of the soul. So here we'll go with this. So you see many things here. You see the freedom of the piano and the pianist to live and create a drama. But you see something else too. I think maybe people can hear the power, the glory of the instrument, what it can do. You know, Like, you can almost live in the sound of the piano. Many pieces use the entire range of the piano, from the very lowest to the very highest. And I haven't used much of the high end in my playing, oddly enough, because most of my pieces end up on the high end, all right? But you've already heard the So you see, it's a completely different landscape, a different world. And also, that was static position, but I'd like you to hear what it sounds like in the absolute top with the arpeggio when it's flowing over 2 octaves, you know? And in this piece, I use the very top. It's so hard for me to express in words the joy inside my soul, inside my being, when I can generate this with the piano. It's so far away from this concept of playing a piece. It's like the pianist flies with the piano. The piano and me just fly. And it's such a beautiful, like, people think I'm playing notes. And I'm not. I'm not playing notes anymore. My hands are simply moving, and my mind is simply taking the piano in my hands, and we're just flying away. I barely feel that I'm touching the keys. You know, it's so hard to explain. Because it's a world that, it's such a beautiful world that I want to give to people. It's not the beautiful world of music only. It's a beautiful world inside your body that you can take the piano and fly away. And it's weightless. And that you close your eyes, and the two of you together are sailing away into heaven. And this is what I want to give to others, this joy. Not of the music, but in their hands, you know, to come with the piano. And we thank you for giving me a chance to speak to people about it. Thank you.
Thank you.